within Humboldt County, California. We gather with respect and gratitude to these indigenous. We thank and honor the indigenous caretakers of this land who continue to cherish and protect it. Their elders have instructed the young to consider the 7 generations ahead as they continue to protect the rights of the land and all people who live on it. We encourage all to align with and follow the lead of local indigenous communities as they steward the land and protect all of its natural resources. We'll have a moment of silence. And before we look at agenda adjustments, I thought something sort of appropriate. There was a meeting that I attended earlier today, and there was a notation on the program about, and perhaps somebody's going to have to help me with the pronunciation. Yelamu Olani, ring a bell? That is the ancestral name for San Francisco, California. I found that kind of interesting because we think of our own tribal areas. I don't think some of the bigger cities were once very much in the same boat. Okay. Under agenda adjustments, your printed copy will reflect Bird's request for 2 items to be moved up in the agenda because she has another meeting to attend. If there's no objection, we'll go ahead and do it that way. So these are items that would have been in unfinished business. They'll now be moved forward. Before we do that, we'll have the approval of the previous minutes of May 1st, 2025. Any further corrections or additions to those minutes? Okay, if not, we'll consider them approved as, was it corrected or amended?
If they were corrected, yeah.
That's right. There was a space. That's right. As approved, as amended. The treasurer's report, Karen?
We have, I still hold this part of the. Sorry, another page. We have $4,391.95. There was a deposit of $538.46. A withdrawal subtraction of $616.73.
Those are all related to the workshop.
They were in small increments.
Okay, any questions for?
Have all the bills from the workshop been paid?
Yes, including the catering. So the one thing we can discuss that later. We have a variety of books still available. Is there anybody on the commission that would like one of the talking matters?
Talk matters.
Talk matters. Would like a copy of the book? Okay, I'll have that for you soon. I don't have them with me tonight. Anybody else that doesn't already have one? Okay, 2. All right. Some of those books will be available to disperse as the commission feels fit. So I'm thinking perhaps some library distribution would be appropriate.
Didn't we discuss that to go to the libraries?
I thought we did.
We did.
I just want to make sure I did the right thing with them.
Yeah, I think we said to all the libraries.
All right. Well, then we move on to the adjusted agenda items. The first being the commission structure. I'm going to try to hope you have copies that were shared with you. Let's see. I can do this. Okay. If we haven't already listed it here doesn't mean we can't talk about other changes that might be in order. Jamie, since you were absent, I think from the last meeting, weren't you?
I was here.
When Tracy was here?
Oh, no, I wasn't here. Right.
Yeah, a lot of ideas came up. She has not necessarily recommended any changes to the board, but she's receptive to listening to what we might suggest if we want to. So that's where we start. Any comments, ideas? Peter?
Well, it seems like there's serious possibilities and it's deserving of more of a discussion among us to really flesh out, for example, what would it mean to meet in a place that's easier for people to access, a bigger room. We don't need to do Zoom. What would it be like to encourage people to be here in person? There's upsides and downsides to that. But that, given the board has raised it, it seems like it's worthy of some real discussion.
Okay. Other thoughts?
Well, we did talk about getting rid of the Zoom. I really like having the Zoom because it gives people who are at a distance to be here if they want to be. And I would like us to pursue, seeing what we can do about the Brown Act so that commissioners can be part of it. We are such a large rural area that I think the one size fits all doesn't fit us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Other thoughts?
Almost any other place would require a rental fee of some kind. So I mean, this is one advantage that we're not paying $100, for 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah, it's a hard choice. Some people are kept away because this is in the courthouse. And we have to be respectful of that, but we also don't know what the alternatives will be for us. Jamie?
I just want to say, I was one of the big kind of proponents for moving us to a different location and have maybe backstepped a little bit on that, or have become at least a little more thoughtful. Requires a little more conversation. After having a conversation with some community members from our Latinx community who shared that there's the perspective of having a meeting at the courthouse that is inviting, that is welcoming, that is positive, is also an important thing to show people that the courthouse isn't something to be scared of, that it's a place where like change can happen and conversations can happen. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. I agree with that too. So while I understand some people don't feel that way, maybe the question is, how do we make it a place where people feel comfortable to come?
Maybe we need to work at doing that,
Right.
Instead of going somewhere else. We make this an inviting place.
Yeah, I know, it's just something that I thought was worth saying and sharing with the group after hearing that.
That's
Seafood.
That'll do it every time.
No, and that was exactly the issue I was going to raise, is that sometimes that can just be a little bit of an icebreaker. It gives you something to do, and you hold it and you have something sweet or whatever it is. I mean, that could be something that could be inviting. I agree very much.
Even cookies or something.
Yeah, cookies, a couple of Ramon's little, bits that are chopped up and shared.
So my comment about the courthouse isn't about the courthouse. It's about the size of the room.
Yes.
And that if there's a room that actually could be inviting and we could invite people into, that they could fit into, any place you go, there's a downside and an upside. But I think this is an abysmal room. If we want to do anything the public's involved with. And a good example was our discussion with the sheriff. And I think that was hugely successful. I mean, I'm still hearing about it on the street. And did become basically a hearing for the people concerned to come. We were the vehicle for them to ask the sheriff questions. But we had 20 odd people in here, and it was crammed 60 people online, and there's just limitations to that. So we were talking about this a little before people started coming in, that given that human rights and civil rights in this country have not been under attack like they are right now in most of our lifetimes, right? I mean, Joe McCarthy died right around the time I was born. But it's serious stuff. I mean, by any measure, I mean, you can, if you're for the administration, then you can talk about why the civil rights should be removed, right? But I don't think there's a lot of disagreement that, in fact, rights and freedoms and the rule of law is all under question. And if you look at places that can talk about that sort of across the boards, there aren't too many. There's very specific groups. ACLU certainly covers a lot of ground, but this could be a place that's more dynamic place where people can come together and actually express concerns, get them on the record, ask people to come, like the sheriff came around issues that are coming up, and have that be more public. So that's a big bite, and I don't know where people are with that, but it doesn't work in this room. So.
The only other time, I'm sorry, the only other time I remember this room being as full as it was for the sanctuary meeting was a meeting about homelessness 3 or 4 years ago. And this room was packed. It was probably dangerously packed.
Yeah.
And, but people wanted to be here, and they did voice their opinions. Hang on.
That is another reason to continue the Zoom, because people can be on Zoom and be part of it that way. I know it's not in person, but it's better than not being able to be there at all.
I wonder if there's some way that we could have access to the supervisor's chamber and it could be adapted to hold our group, because it certainly would have the seating if there were, or if it might be an option that when there are more people that we could move to the supervisor's chamber. I don't know if there's a cost to that or what restrictions might apply.
The cost is the security at the front gate, front door. And normally that security cost is paid for by the planning commission.
Right.
They have a budget, we don't. And that budget covers that, except for nights like this, when there is no planning commission meeting.
What I'm wondering is if the Human Rights Commission could meet like in the supervisor's chambers, which is a much larger area. I mean, there's only 5 desks up in front. You'd have to make some adaptation.
Sure, could be done.
But I wonder if that may not be another option that, if appropriate, we could pursue at times.
A different time.
It would have to be a different time. That's the problem.
Planning commission.
Yeah, but what he's suggesting, I mean, this would be a special meeting anyway, so it would be a special date. Not necessarily like when we always meet on a Thursday. We could have a special date because we've got a special topic.
Oh, for a special circumstance. I see. Yeah. Okay. I didn't follow that. That's a good idea. It could be done that way. Well, I think the question before us is, what should we pursue and how should we go about that? Is this something that requires the formation of a committee to come back with recommendations to the commission? They could be lengthy or few, but
Well, I like Rick's idea. I mean, could we find out whether or not we could actually, get the supervisor's room? Because like I said, there's only room for five, but that could be the four people on the commission, and the remaining commission could be in front of the five, along with the crowd. So it's a little more, friendly, that we're not just sitting there like owls staring at people. We're actually part of the crowd too. So, but we have to know whether we can actually get that room to be able to use it.
Well, I'm sure that there would be times when that room would be not in use. Yeah, I'd be happy to check into its availability.
When you say there would be times, but you're saying it would not be available on Thursday evenings?
It would not be available on most first of the month Thursdays, which tonight is one,
Okay,
or the third,
okay,
Thursday.
because of the planning commission, that's when they're meeting.
right.
Okay, I got it.
So let me check into that. I'd be happy to follow through with the chambers. Any other action we should consider at this time?
Yeah,
I think the first question that's up there, are we going to, what do we think is the right number of commissioners? I know we have 10 now, is that right?
We have 10
Right
and
now.
9 active, 9 really active.
And I think we should stay at 15, which is a goal. We may not always have it, but I think with 15, we should be able to have more diversity in the geography of our county, and more diversity in every part of it. I think I would like it to advocate to stay
Yeah,
at 15.
I agree.
I think 15 would be.
Anybody have a different opinion? I just would love to see us get back to that level.
Yeah.
That's,
so Tim,
yes, sir.
if anyone else is interested in taking a look at the notion of how to use the commission around some special topics and put together an ad hoc committee, I would serve on it if anyone else is interested. So,
I would be interested, but
I would
heard.
serve on
Okay,
that.
but we just have, you want to be chair?
sure.
Okay. And what's the specific goal?
The specific goal is to entertain the thought of the commission being used as a way to draw more light to the threats that people are under around human rights issues in Humboldt County, as they perceive them, and as is real. So,
And I think to encourage them to come to us for this, rather than to be afraid to come where we are.
Yeah, I would be willing to serve the client. No one else
Okay,
would like to.
That's 4 then, isn't it?
that's 4.
Okay.
Okay, do we want to continue looking at the list before us, or turn that over to the committee to go further with it?
Turn it to the committee.
Well, there are a couple things that have to do with interpretation. And
Oh, yes, there
I
are.
think I would like to advocate for that as much as we can. I'm not sure that kind of thing costs money if we do it correctly. But I think it's something we should consider and be aware of, particularly if we're going to have a specific topic that might bring in people whose English is their second language.
I wonder how people feel about maybe doing it at like special meetings, if we do special meetings, and then like advertising that we're doing it, so people know. But then for our regular meetings, when the agenda goes up, if you'd like to attend and need an interpreter, please let us know, so we can arrange it, so we don't have one sitting here when no one's here,
Right,
that we're paying,
that sounds good.
because I'm worried about paying.
Yeah.
I want to have that, but I'm worried about paying for someone to sit here, and most of the time, we don't have.
Yeah, I did learn that on Access Humboldt, not that this is totally relevant to this, but uh, when the meeting is being viewed, although they can't interact directly in a different language, they can control the caption that they're seeing, which what I'm saying right now would be interpreted in Spanish. Trouble is, we have a hard time satisfying all the different language needs that we have in the community.
I think that's the beauty of having a person who needs it, let us know.
I like that
And
idea.
I really think that's good, but there has to be a time frame for that. They can't let us know at 5 o'clock.
Right, we need to give them a deadline, like,
Yeah,
when the agenda goes out 2 weeks.
Well, it goes out less than a week
Yeah.
ahead.
Less than a week, that's it.
Yeah.
yeah. So I.
There might have to be an advertising effort made to make that work. Because if we just expect them to look at the agenda and respond, that's not gonna
Yeah.
probably get it.
But I think some kind of press release about this, I mean, I think that's something that we've been talking about and that would be very good to be able to offer if we could. And if we have somebody who needs it, very often that's coming through someone who is already interpreting for them. And possibly, that's how we find the right person to come for that particular language.
So it's not limited to any one language.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I've got kooky ideas tonight. So kooky idea is if on Access Humboldt, you do have that translation that's put on, even a person who's in here with the volume off could see what we're talking about in the Spanish language or in Hmong or whatever.
If we were connected to it, so we were seeing the feed, I'm not sure how that would work. We need to be able to see what Access Humboldt is showing.
Yeah, that's right. It would have to come out in actual, that the print would have to be there. But I wonder if that is an option that,
Find out about.
I will contact Access Humboldt.
Well, that's at least that's one of the beauties of Zoom. I mean, Zoom does the captions in about 100 languages. So, but that is dependent on whoever's watching it, just set it to the language.
well, I mean, if the person, if they put it on Zoom, they should be able to see, it seems, the caption. Anyway, a thought.
We'll add that to the to-do list.
Oh, good.
If we have someone who comes to the meeting and say it's not Spanish, it's French or whatever, we need to be aware that it's only fair to pay that person. Too many interpreters are used in the worst way by saying, well, you just come and help us. And it's a very specific skill that they have. And I think we should honor that and be prepared to pay.
Well, you also want a good quality person, and that it's appropriate to pay that.
Mhm.
So yeah, and also just maybe clarity and to do that when I'm right now watching the stream. And can't do it on my computer. So if you're talking about on their TVs, if they're watching TV and could do that, if they have a TV that has the capacity to do that,
Right.
or if it's actually a function of access.
Yeah, I wonder if Access Humboldt could do it. I mean, I think
That's what I'll have to try to find out.
Because I can't turn on captions on my computer.
Okay.
But we're getting it's captioning right now what we're saying.
But not translating.
It's not showing up there
But
though, so it's only
It
showing on
could
your
be done
computer.
in a different language, but not more than one language at a time. There are a lot of things we need to investigate.
I think it's only captioning on your computer.
Oh, it's not showing on yours?
That is not up there.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
because it's the host computer. Yeah, okay,
People have to turn on their own captions.
gotcha. That makes sense.
So do you want that topic to be part of the committee you just formed or something else? Looked at in a different way? Or
Open
ignored?
to suggestions. I personally, I think that committee could handle several of these different areas and figure out how to best inform the public that we're trying to do better outreach.
Yeah, I feel like it's very connected to that committee work.
Then I would suggest that the purpose of the committee is not as specific as we made it, but it is outreach in as many different ways as possible to make people comfortable attending our meetings.
And increase.
Isn't that what we're trying to
To
do?
increase engagement, yeah.
Yeah.
That includes the languages.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's just part of it.
Yeah. So then anything that's here.
Fix it, Peter.
Yeah.
It's all.
Go, Peter. Are you still my friend, Peter?
Always good.
All right. Is there anything further we need to discuss on this particular topic tonight then? Seeing no, movement in that direction, we'll, let's see. I hope I haven't lost all my notes. I've lost everything. Okay.
Do we need to put it on the agenda to officially start the committee itself and when that would begin and end and those?
Just 6 months. I think the 3-month period would be better just so we can get it going.
Okay.
So, July, how about September 1st as an end date
Okay.
for that committee or whatever the first meeting is in September.
Okay.
Whatever that date is. Okay. Next item is the tribal liaison letter that we wish to send to the Board of Supervisors. And I'm sorry, I didn't offer you a chance to speak to what we were discussing. I'm supposed to do that. I'm not used to having anybody in the room.
You're starting a topic that I am interested in.
The one now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a draft letter to the Board of Supervisors, which has been lingering with us for a while. Let me ask first, Karen, any chance you were able to reach out to some of the tribes?
I did at our meeting at UIHS, but, they can only go to their tribal councils and put it on their agenda. So.
So that's a slower process. Maybe we just can't wait for that. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Do you have another copy of that letter? Or can I look over Peter's shoulder?
Well, I didn't print more copies of the letter except it's available there.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry to.
No, that's good. You always look over my shoulder, then I'm not over there.
I think that's roughly that. Not sure, because everything gets changed.
Are there thoughts on the letter as it sits, as it stands right now? Yes, Bert.
I don't want to put Carol on the spot, but I would like to know if she'd be willing to give us your feeling about this letter.
Yes, I read it. And the first thing, most tribes have adopted what's the National Congress of American Indians have used. And we're calling ourselves American Indians, not Native Americans.
Oh, so that terminology should be changed. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So that was one of them. Um. And then, I don't know if you want to put it in here, but, we are advocating for when it has race in there. We know that's what we have to call them, but for American tribes, with their sovereignty, we are classified in the Constitution as, political entities. We are not. And so, even though I know within our contracts that we have with the government and so forth, we always state what has been stated there regarding, religious creed, to color, national origin, ancestry, physical disability, mental disability, and so forth.
So you're saying this should be added to that list?
Isn't that a political entity?
Yes,
Okay.
they added a separate sentence
Okay,
regarding that.
oh, there's a thought there.
As a separate sentence, you thought?
And it is a separate sentence.
Okay.
I can help you with that language. And then it can go out.
Like some of the changes right now, it's
So it's not a part of that.
not part of that.
Yeah, no, it needs to be a separate sentence on its own.
Because that's the missions there, or function as a.
Yes.
Okay, so what is the sentence you'd like to add?
Okay, oh, here, I got one. Okay. So after it says Board of Supervisors. In doing so, we recognize and respect the inherent sovereignty and political status of federally recognized tribes as self-governing nations, as well as the importance of maintaining a government-to-government relationship.
Yeah.
How am I gonna remember that?
I can write it down for you in that document.
Thank you. That'd be
No, that's
great.
great.
Good.
That's perfect.
Good, because that sounds really good.
If I ever get tech savvy, we'll be dangerous.
And
I think if you refresh, it should be. Diane.
Okay, Andy, further comments?
just down in the, keep going. Or scroll up. Say first. And I know when you go finally considering an incident where an indigenous resident of Humboldt County was shot and killed by a police officer of the county. We would like to see tribal governments have a more powerful impact to ensure an external review board is established for incidents of this nature. I wasn't quite sure if established for incidents of this nature was only pertaining to criminal cases.
I was
And
just thinking maybe you wanted to change it to, I'm sure where we're moving at. They're powerful. Instead of saying impact, how about role?
yes,
That's what I was thinking, because back there,
Replace the word impact with role.
yeah,
more powerful.
because, I've been contacting AG and they sent me information on it, and that case, which I told you is not the only one. They have loads of cases. They linger for 18, 20 months before they come up, but we have no idea who's involved in the process. And I think it's important especially obviously if it's in a tribal area, they should be part of the process. So that way it's open, may not be happy with whatever comes out of it, but at least somebody's gonna have a role in it.
And then on the next paragraph, it says, we are enlisting the support of all local tribes.
Requesting. Instead of requesting.
Yeah, no, because I think we're not enlisting. I think that's right. We are just basically asking.
Request.
Requesting?
Well, because it's a
Or
slow process.
I think encouraging.
That sounds good too.
I would say encouraging this, because the tribes have the right to, if we request.
Yeah, I think encouraging is a good word.
Jim, can you share that document with the one that's in our, I don't think that's the same one that's in the email that you sent us.
There's actually two documents and this is the longer of the two.
Got it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which one was our most recent version, so.
Are
that's
they
why-
both in the email?
I got those through the email.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one was an earlier and then there was some adaptation.
This seems to be the longer one now, I think.
This is the longer one.
This one added to this section.
Sure you.
Get the longer one.
I always put a religion stuff.
And Professor.
This is last thing.
Would you like
Yeah.
last?
Kim,
Yeah,
Chip,
CHIP.
Chip, I'm sorry.
Right.
I apologize.
Just saying Buffalo chip.
You wanted to comment or contribute to this?
Yes. I was on the Human Rights Commission in 1982 when concern about the killing of Virgil Payne
Yes.
came became public, brought to the commission, and Ed Houghton from the Community Relations Division of the U.S. Justice Department came here and directed a mediation with the sheriff's office and 5 groups, including the Coopa Tribal Council, representing Native people in the Coopa and Strip area, including the Yurok territory, and I don't recall whether there were Farouk members there, but from out of that, we developed a memorandum of understanding that the sheriff's office was going to hire a liaison officer to be a liaison between these tribal groups and the sheriff's office. And I left the commission sometime after Larry Miller came on. God, he's been here a long time.
Yes.
And I wasn't following it, so I was surprised when I saw, I think it was from Sheriff Hansel, raised the question, should we have a liaison officer? And so I don't know what happened. The liaison officer that was hired 40 years ago evaporated or
Nobody
yeah.
else.
So I was just interested to know what the involvement with the sheriff's office is now. Is there any official liaison at this time?
I know that there was a native who became a sheriff and was on the force for a while, but he's now the chief tribal police officer for the Europe.
Mhm. That's a very good question, and it's very relevant to this.
Is cross deputization still happening?
I believe so. With
between the sheriff and there would be Humboldt Sheriff, Yurok.
Yes,
The only bad tribes would.
it is with the Yurok tribe. Don't go about the.
Is that an ad hoc per case kind of thing?
No,
Or would that be a standard,
it's actually been in place for quite a while.
you know?
And, but these things tend to come and go, and I just don't know what the current status is. But I just recently read something from the Yurok tribe about cross deputization and how important that was, and I understood it to mean that that was still real. In which case, the liaison function is built in, but with the sheriff's department, right? I mean, they're actually in a process of negotiating to set that up. So
It seems like it would be real easy for a liaison position to get just absorbed into the cross deputization and not have the strength of a real spokesperson.
And many of the tribes, the smaller tribes may not have a tribal police department.
So does this letter need to have something referring to what Chip has reminded us of? I don't know where it would fit, exactly what we would say, but it makes a lot of sense to have something related to the sheriff here.
So where it says, external review board is established for incidents of this matter, then your next sentence could be, consideration of a tribal liaison within.
The sheriff's department. Where did you suggest that go?
Right after the incidents of this nature, just add that sentence.
Oh, okay. Jamie, are you able to add that?
Yeah, for some reason, I don't think I'm in the same document as you are. Can you share the document with me? And so I make sure.
I do that.
Go up to the corner of the Google Doc as a share.
Jamie, would it help if I just give you a hard copy? Can you play with that?
I have a copy, the one that was sent in the email. I just don't think that's the one.
No, but this is the longer one. This is the one that's up on the board there.
I have that one.
You have that one. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. It's just he's not opening now. The one that was in the email.
File,
You should, is it a Google Doc that he's in, or is he in a Word doc?
is in Word doc.
Oh, okay, yes, then Rick.
Um,
I'll take notes on the Google Doc and just share it with him.
Okay,
All right. Okay, so you wanted me to add that after incidents of nature.
right, thank you.
you know, I have a question.
Sure.
Right.
So I was always trained never to write anything about a tribe that they haven't approved first. I mean, you write it, but for about 40
If
years.
you do it in general, that's okay, but if you name them specifically,
Okay,
yeah,
so that was the question.
yeah.
Great.
And are we avoiding doing that? I think we are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they get
Okay,
very.
so
So can you clarify, because I was trying, while you were talking, I was trying to figure out why I was not in the right document, but for the same document, you. The sentence that you want me to add in,
I'm getting confused.
it's okay, just the sentence about the tribe recommendation of the tribal liaison. Can someone tell me what
We further recommend
a tribal liaison?
a tribal liaison position either be established or reestablished within the sheriff's department.
Okay, got it. I'll claim it. Perfect.
Now, I know it's going to be for the county, it's going to be a budgetary concern.
So it looks like they just opened it up, with hiring.
Yeah,
I just read it.
now how do we get your correction to common document?
I'll put it in is yours in the Google Drive?
Yes,
Where is yours in the Google Drive?
oh,
Because I use the Word. Where are you?
I had it saved to my desktop.
That's why. So you're updating when you pulled it out of the Google Drive. I'm using the one in the Google Drive. So mine is actually in the Google Drive and it's being updated.
Okay, and
So everyone should.
have you made the other changes that I,
No, but I'll grab them from Rick if you've been
Okay.
writing them down.
we'll get this one way or the other.
Have you been writing them down?
I've only, I've just made sketches. I've not, I'm assuming that I'm the one who's keeping this accurately updated.
Then Jim, since you've done some, just share with me your Word doc when,
Yeah.
when we're all done.
When we're done.
And I'll
Okay.
put it all in one and make it.
Okay.
All right. Okay, further comments or ideas for the letter?
That sounds good.
I like this topic. I think this is a really.
I think it's a good approach. I think I know what the answer will be, but
Oh, yeah.
that's beside the
Well-
point. We need to make the recommendation anyway.
Even if you're not mentioning specific tribes, it'd still be appropriate to at least send a copy or to each tribe as a, hey, we're sending this document, or we would like to, or some sort of,
Carol,
some kind of
is there
communication.
a way to
Is there a way to do that?
reach out to the tribes by email
Mhm.
or?
You can go online and change one of the tribes. They have their phone numbers of the animal contacts. The best way is to get a hold of their council support.
Is there a single place to go for this information?
It's usually when you go to their website,
That's
They have to
individual
contact-
tribes though.
you have to do it each one.
Okay,
That's what we do with the graduate.
Mhm. And
get off too often.
even though
Okay.
I did see the listing of the tribes in Humboldt County, there was 8 of them. And one was the Karuk tribe, which I had to look up because I always thought they were in Siskiyou County. But part of their indigenous land comes into the corner of Humboldt County.
Oh,
Yeah, just part of it. So they are sort of represented in Humboldt County.
Okay.
I didn't realize that either.
happy to help with that piece of it.
You know, we had to bargain with them for UIHS because UIHS used to service that area. But when the tribe were reinstated, they claimed the area, so we had to,
Right.
you know, our service area is at the bridge.
Should have a lot of tourists listed around the bay.
All right. Well, we've done some considerable improvement to the letter. I just want to make sure that I understand what the commission wants us to do with it at this point. Obviously, Jamie and I have a little collaboration to do, maybe with Rick as well,
Not too much.
to finalize the letter. But is it the wish of the commission that this letter go forward?
To the tribe.
To the tribes.
Tribes.
For their reaction
For
and
their
comment.
Right,
reactions and, yeah, comments, suggestions.
Yeah, I think, right.
I'm happy to help with the sending it to the tribe piece of it,
Great, okay, thank you.
or each tribe. Yeah, I don't mean to make it sound singular.
and some may not even respond, some may will.
Yeah,
Should we ask for a response or by a certain time or is that pushing it too much?
Yeah, I would. And say we would like to set this date because we would like to get it to the board of supervisors for their consideration.
What seems like a reasonable time frame?
So I would say maybe a few days before our next meeting be the time when we ask them to respond to us.
If they have concerns, I would say if you have concerns.
If you have concerns, yeah, because
That way you're not stuck waiting.
If we don't hear, then we assume that means there are no concerns.
Can we assume that?
and then for the ceremonies are coming up. They start in June.
So it's on June 30th.
Well, our next meeting is scheduled for July 3rd.
Right.
Is June 30th a reasonable timeframe? 3 weeks,
3 weeks.
or should it be August 1st?
I do August because
So that would be July 31st. Wait,
yeah, because of their, they may not have a tribal council.
31 days in July.
Yeah. So our meeting's gonna be on August 7th.
Right. So July 31st, that
Okay.
would be a week before.
That should be plenty of time if they're interested in responding. Okay. All right, further comments or ideas?
One more thing, in what you're saying to them about your concerns and so forth, refer to the part in here where we're saying, we want the Board of Supervisors to know that we have talked with, or have contacted all of the tribes, so we would like your input by such and such a time, so we can discuss it at our next meeting.
All right.
I think referring to that so that they know that we're saying that, and that's why we're asking for the.
Yeah. Okay. Rick,
Before we move on to something else, I have a selfish request. And that's for, I'd like to get possible dates for the speech group to meet on Zoom, because Bird I know has to leave here in a couple of minutes. And I'd like to get her while Carol and Bird and Jim are here to see what might be a time that we could get an initial Zoom meeting. So we've often done it on Wednesday afternoons, which are fine with me, but I'd like to find out kind of how your calendars look and what might be a good next meeting. So I was going to say something, like,
If you did it earlier, I haven't, on those Wednesdays, I've never been able to join because I have a Wednesday meeting that starts at 4:30. And it's
okay, how about a Tuesday evening?
there is an earlier time.
Well, I would be available earlier on Wednesdays. I don't know what other schedules are.
I am too.
I am
mean,
too.
Oh,
For the 3 in June, I am available for those 3.
okay, so if we were to have like a meeting at 3 o'clock or something like that, would that work? Right, that's
that works for me.
How about the 18th, 25th?
18th.
18th,
Sounds good.
okay. So that's
So tag the other meeting onto it,
Can we what?
tag the other meeting onto it, the one about,
See,
so.
us three would be on it anyway.
So I just come and join, and Carol wouldn't have to stay or whatever.
Yeah, there's no reason. Does that work for you guys? To
yeah,
basically
It'd be
piggyback.
convenience for the three of you that way.
Yeah, I think that would work.
okay. So on Wednesday, June 18th, we'll meet from 3. Let's just say that, let's just project from 3 to 4. Would that be reasonable? And then maybe Peter, doesn't want to welcome you to come. You can come in any time, but
Right.
we would say by 4 o'clock for sure. We can be.
And where do you meet?
This will be
Zoom.
on Zoom,
Zoom, okay.
and I'll create a link.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll try to get that to a normal agenda here, and we do not have a guest speaker this evening. Commissioner notes. Commission notes, and for the chair, I just wanted to, seems relevant since I was briefly talking to Peter and Rick about this before the meeting started. I was part of a statewide survey of senior LGBTQIA people, and they met today to discuss the current climate of affairs for that group of people. And it was rather obvious to me that there's more harm in the pipeline than I had personally been aware of. And that includes that whole group of people and all the variables within it, and the potential for lack of health care, for a total lack of resources. And I'm just thought it would be good, since we've talked about outreach, for us to be aware that there are probably a whole slew of new problems on the horizon that we haven't thought of much lately, because they're kind of under control. Well, they may not be under control for very long in the current environment. I think the only reason I bring this up is just to make us extra aware. Can I, Bert?
Thank you for honoring my request.
Sure. I think it's important that we just keep aware. Di is very good about sharing information with us. I think if we all stay on top of this and share with each other, we'll be better prepared to take up topics as they come along.
Piggybacking on that, you do know that there's a Supreme Court case that's going to be decided within the next 10 days. That's going to be very relevant to that.
What is that one?
I think it's a Florida case dealing with trans, medical, and the court hasn't made a ruling, but all the controversial ones, they always hold to the end to the term, which is June 30th. So within the next 3 weeks. And
This covers health care for or gender care.
well, yeah, for young people. The problem of it is that depending on which way the court goes on it, and my assumption is it's not going to go well, is it's going to open a floodgate nationwide. And so that's a real concern right now.
It's going to be ugly.
I can give you the case too. I have it on my phone, but
Yeah. Well, anyway, that was my comment for the evening. Any other commissioner notes? Sure.
Can you share some of those?
I requested that they send the video. They did video the entire meeting. It was an hour and a half long. I requested that they send a link to the video to our Human Rights Commission email address. So as soon as I get it, I will share it with everybody, and you can watch it. There were probably 10 or 12 people on it. And actually, some of them were from across the country too. This was instigated by a study carried out by the University of California, Berkeley, for the California Agency on Aging. So it dealt mostly with seniors, but obviously the effects are widespread. Other contributions?
Well, there's a conference at the senior center. You were there about healthy aging, and the afternoon was a call for advocacy.
Yeah.
It's around the deteriorating state of our healthcare system period. But it overlaps, I think, with this condition in the sense that we are the sixth from the poorest county in California, so that very low income. And 40% of all bankruptcies are caused by medical expense. We tend to look at this issue in terms of it's hard to attract presidents of universities or, businesses have trouble hiring people, but what we're not looking at is the level right above Medicare. Because Medi-Cal, if you're Medi-Cal, you're actually probably the best insurance in the county for the moment. Could all end next week, but for the moment, but the step above that, so a family of four earning $45,000 a year right? That suddenly has a kid who's got to get care in the city. They're in really, really big trouble. We actually know a family like that. We're in the 17th month of fighting leukemia with the kid. That family is going bankrupt. But we suspect there's a lot of that. We're just not focusing on it and trying to get people to see that there's an enormous justice issue. We talk a lot about theoretical justice that every now and then affects someone. This is really big. Yeah. So there's a group of us are trying to get it refocused on both economic development. It's a big thing where county's going nowhere. Right now, if you're a doctor thinking of coming here and you ask who your doctor will be here, told you can't have one. Right. So,
Same with dentists,
but
same with the dentist.
yeah, same with dentists.
I didn't follow that one.
If you were a doctor thinking of moving here and you asked a question about where you would get your medical care, who would be your doctor, you're told you can't have that.
There's just not doctors available.
There's no doctors here.
It's not just doctors, but
Right.
even doctors can't get care.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. And the county had a meeting today that I went to the morning half about in Blue Lake, and the issue there is they keep losing staff. I mean, people take jobs here, and then the medical care. So that is the number one reason county staff are leaving. So there's lots of independent evidence, but no one is focusing on low-income people and sort of the devastating effect this has. And there are actually things that we could be doing about it, short of insisting on national health care. But so.
Well, one of the suggestions I'll throw out, I've been fighting this for 2-3 years, but gaining no traction with it, was when they announced Cal Poly Humboldt that we were going to transition to this more fanciful school. I said, why don't we have a medical school there where we actually train people in the Northwest? And most of the people I talk to are supportive, but nobody wants to say anything. They all say, well, who do you got on board? It's always, they're not going to come unless we can get other people on board. So maybe this is again something we can do, push our board of supervisors and support a move for that, because then maybe we could get some of our legislators to support it. Because I think it would be ideal. I mean, I'm an old fan from 30 odd years ago, Northern Exposure.
Yeah.
The idea that, the lead over there, he had to give 5 years of his time to this poor community with natives among other people over there. And I thought, hey, this is probably a great idea for us here, because we're a desert between our area all the way, into Oregon. You have to either go to Medford to find some hospitals, or moving in that direction. Well, you got to go, Santa Rosa or Redding. So it would be ideal. But of course, when I talk to them about it, like I said, they won't take the lead unless somebody starts lighting the fire under them. So I started with, mentioning it with Cal Poly. Also, when we heard Bad River was for sale, I said, perfect. Have the state take it over and turn it into a training school and connect it with the university.
There's actually interest from UC Davis to have a branch through the university. So if there was community pressure, one of the things I really loved about the meeting that HSRC did, that Peter was on that panel, was just the conversation of like the change needs to come from community voice.
Right.
Right. And like
That's
historically,
the point, and boy, it's hard to get it going.
right. But historically, like all of these efforts have come from like talking to the presidents and the CEOs, and they're like, yeah, great. But like then they go back to their day-to-day jobs, managing their all their other challenges, right? Like, but we need some community traction to like get it going. But there's capacity there. There's like support.
There's a
there.
bunch of possible technical solutions.
Exactly.
But without public will, we're in line with every other rural community in America. One of the questions asked today by head of the economics department of Humboldt, Eric.
Eric-ish.
Yes. He said, well, a lot of rural areas would envy what we have here. And, how are we doing relative to other rural areas? And the answer is we're 25% behind California, per capita and 20% by the country as a whole. Visalia has got a great program, and they developed a hybrid medical program there. Nebraska had a deep problem, and now they are no longer a health shortage, say anywhere in rural Nebraska. But it really is possible with public will. But what we're lacking here is public will, and we wait for providence. And we have mid-management. I think the current guy is really good, but he's mid-management. He came right out and said that the focus is Oregon and Washington. Now they've been focusing on Southern California. Then you go to Northern California, and we don't count. So we're simply don't count. Right. So one of the problems we have, it gets to the ridiculous, which is that we can't get more primary care through Providence because they don't have any office space. So when suggested that Open Door Clinic now has these vacant buildings and are desperate to sell them, right? They're not taking private insurance because the cost of paying for the buildings on top of it makes some private insurance. Every time they take private insurance, they're losing ground on their capital expense. Right? It gets really convoluted. So it was suggested in Providence by one of those buildings. They said that the system is determined not to spend another dollar on facilities in Humboldt County, period. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, when there's no public request, most people here don't even know that the backbone of our entire health system is Medi-Cal.
Oh, yeah.
Medi-Cal is paying for everything out there. Yeah. Private insurance is a disaster. And I talked to,
Liz?
Pardon?
Liz?
Yeah, Liz, thank you. And he said it's pretty much the same at UIHS. That
Yeah. So that was a fact sheet I sent you out too.
Yeah.
It says over here, just in Huffman's district, 238,000 people are going to get pushed off if this big beautiful bill gets passed.
Well, I'm talking about 7 or 8 million.
Yeah, I'm just talking about District 2.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, so at what point does that become a human rights issue?
So maybe I believe, at least in the native population, they're not aware of it. They're not aware that if they need to speak up.
Right.
And
I don't think anyone does that.
Yeah, and so maybe we need to write a letter and put it in the newspaper or Lost Coast Outpost or
Rapid response, perhaps.
get a letter out.
Some people don't understand that partnership is Medi-Cal. Oh, I just have partnership, but no, that is
That's the name for it.
that's just what the county contracted with. So, but it's amazing how many people.
One of the problems we have is a lack of a convening organization. Mm-hmm. So Humboldt Area Foundation used to do that. They don't do that anymore. Right? Just across the board. Not NORCAN, the True North Organizing Network, feel like they have their plate full. And it's largely selected by PICO statewide, not locally. And the Senior Resource Center, which will be the population most impacted, because we're going at 30% of the population being seniors. And unless you're Medi-Cal, Medicare, your insurance is actually not as good as, I'm getting too much into the weeds here. The point is we don't have an institutional base. CCRP is talking about being an institutional base. You have to have some basis to launch a campaign from.
Mm-hmm. I would like to suggest that since you're very knowledgeable on this subject, maybe you could craft the body of a letter that we could send out from the Human Rights Commission, trying to make the public more aware of just where we are.
Right.
If you're willing, we have a process for a rapid response this sounds like something we need to respond to before it's a crisis, before the crisis gets worse.
Yeah, it is a crisis.
It is a crisis, right? And if you would do that, I'll work with you to get a letter that we could all preview and then send out to the media.
We'll try to do that between now and the next meeting.
Perfect. Yeah, that's fine. I don't want to overload you, but
Yeah. If people have seen the senior news, the last senior news, not the one that just came out, is all about healthcare. And Bruce Kessler put together, he has all sorts of data, put it together into one chart that's on page 18. And you read through that, and you'll go, oh my God, it is really, really bad shape. Right. But it's all there. And that way it gets it out of he said, she said. And we know of like 13,000 people who are leaving the county for care out of the county now. But that does not include Providence hospitals out of the area because they consider that in system. Right.
you know, when I had an issue not long ago, I had to go to
Yeah.
Napa, I think it
So
was.
again, some people can afford it and a lot of people can't.
Oh, sure,
So,
absolutely.
so that people don't get care.
Okay. Good topic. Very necessary.
Cheryl, you know all about healthcare. Will you help?
We're just waiting for what's gonna be happening with the budget.
Yeah,
I just was listening to the appropriations committee this morning.
Yeah.
okay, I don't see any viewers online for public comment on non-agenda items. The agenda items can be commented on after the commission has discussed them. Next item on the agenda would be the correctional facilities liaison report. There really isn't one. Larry continues to be ill, and hopefully he'll be back with us soon. On the message line report of May,
Sorry,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
as the chair, have you called Larry and let him know that?
Oh, yes.
We send our
No, he knows he's missed.
blessings and.
Yeah, he prefers not to talk on the phone. Maybe he's just not comfortable, I don't know. But he responded that he wants to get back and he hasn't, I don't think any firm decisions have been made yet regarding his care.
He said he was getting more tests done.
I'm sure he is. I don't know where. But at any rate, message line report for May 1st through the 15th. Helen?
I had, oh, go ahead. You're first.
I got a call from the male jail and passed that on, and then that was a lot of them now. And then I did get one call from a very upset community member. However, she didn't leave her number, so I was unable to respond.
Yeah, it's hard for us to respond if we don't know how to reach you.
Yes, I don't know if she called back again, but that's about it for the call.
So, yeah, and I just had one, and it was, wanting to know if we wanted reference cards. Gonna have to call them back.
They want cards?
No.
Oh,
They wanna know if we want their reference cards.
oh, I see. Okay, all right. And I have to contact the jail regarding a visitation. I forget who I got that from.
Me,
From you. Okay.
so I've had two so far. And according to Larry, he's familiar with both of them, I guess. So they're not new, they're regulars.
Yes.
Yeah, the one that you referred to me, I believe I have visited before. I've got to look that up because it was a lady friend of his that was supposed to provide some information for me, and that never happened. So,
Well, like I said, I maybe I'm not supposed to do that, but you know, when I get them, I look on the booking sheet and see what they look for. And when I see that, you know, illegal firearm stalking and whatever, maybe that's why Lady Friend isn't showing up.
oh, that could be. Could be.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little scary.
Well, as you can tell, Guy is on the phones now. Peter is coming up on from the 16th through the 30th. And that leaves July 1st through the 15th and the 16th through the 31st.
I can take first try July.
Okay, thanks, June. I would be happy to do the second part. Okay. Sanctuary Ordinance Committee, is there anything new to report?
I don't think. Oh, well, I did, yeah, I passed that out earlier and she got off. Let me go again, but I don't have extras, so you can't upgrade. I do have these immigration cards that you put out by the ACLU. And if you did look at, I think it was today, the ACLU put out this red card that's brand new, and I haven't had a chance even to look at it myself, but I know that, you know, there's been a lot of concern over the actions of ICE, and I didn't get a very satisfactory response even from the ACLU. I mean, I asked, you know, what happens when a debtor is operating illegally, and you know, their only response is we take it to court. But I'm real concerned when I look out the community and I go, there's masked men who have no evidence of there being police or whatever, and they're assaulting people. I'm real concerned about, you know, that activity. And I'm also concerned about what that could lead to. We were talking before the meeting started, concerned about vigilantism, because it's a, you know, we have, I don't think we have that in California, but stand your ground laws, the idea that if you see somebody on the street that appears to be attacking somebody and they don't appear to have any legal authority, what's to stop someone from interfering? I mean, obviously they can get in trouble or it could turn into a major mess, but it's a real concern right now that lawlessness is now coming from the federal government, and that's real concern.
Well, you mentioned the red card. This was what you shared earlier.
Okay.
I was going to suggest that maybe this is something we should have printed in mass. These are instructions to people if they're approached by ICE, and what they can do, what they should not do, what their rights are. It's a small card, as near as I can figure.
Well, I think we should. I will let you know that I was looking in my wallet to make sure I had my tribal ID. Because if I was to be pulled over, I need to show my tribal ID. I didn't have it. And I'm thinking, why do I have to do that?
Yeah.
Because I'm brown.
Yeah.
Stinks.
In addition to putting something like that out, I mean, hoping to post on our Facebook page is what responsibilities the rest of us have as public, that if we see stuff like that, maybe we can't get involved in any other way, but we can make sure we video and take pictures and whatever, because again, you know.
I think if we have a distribution system, I mean, getting the cards out makes it real for people who are hearing it in the news. But you read, I think the card's really well done. Not surprising, the ACLU, you read it and you go, oh my God, these are things I have to worry about. I think in and of itself, it raises awareness. The question would be, how are we getting out? Also would guess there's something like this already being distributed by, well, a variety of groups.
Well, we occasionally do tabling. All of us run into people. I don't know exactly how we ought to approach this, but we have funds that we could afford to have this professionally printed.
Right.
These people, I read through this, and the ILRC is not charging for this information, so it's not a copyright problem.
Right.
I'd like to see us take some action to print maybe 1,000 copies and distribute them as widely as we can.
Mhm.
Do we know what card Centro de Pueblo is
Don't know.
dispersing?
I don't know.
Might be good to compare, maybe. You join forces there. And I know they have a phone number that they've publicized, call.
We have it on our site, we have theirs, and, the ACLU has now posted one for every county in the state. And there's a special number to call,
So call to Brenda.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea. Better before we start going off in a direction, make sure others aren't already doing it.
Well, it could be they've got 1,000 to give us to hand out, already printed, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, I'll give her a call.
Looks like you can purchase the cards. Maybe we could help with funding if they wanted us to help purchase cards for Central Republic. It's
I
called.
didn't see that.
There's like you can select quantity, the language, and then you can just add it to your cart and purchase the red card.
Okay, we need to collaborate.
Yeah.
Okay. Rapid Response Committee, we'll have something to talk about, about a month. Nothing at the moment. Youth Human Rights Commission, Jamie.
Yeah, as Jim mentioned earlier, I've been gone for 2 weeks, so I know that the group met. They are continuing with some meetings over the summer, from what I understand. We have, unfortunately, several of our folks who've been incredible getting us started, graduated, or are going out to college, but we're going to stay connected over summer. And we're coming up with a plan to send out a recruitment letter to all schools at the beginning of the year. And that's as far as I know. Anything else?
Well, I'm embarrassed to say that I think they had a meeting this last Sunday. And I had it down at 6 o'clock and I looked closer at my calendar and it was 5 o'clock, so I missed them. So I showed that they have a meeting scheduled for Saturday. Well, that's gonna be a busy day, June 14th at 5 o'clock. I don't know if you have any other information other than that.
I don't.
Would you be able to reach out to Rowan or
Yep. I will.
Neil?
Does it?
I just don't want him to think we've dropped on him because that's certainly not the case. But I did miss their last meeting.
So a couple of Sundays ago, there was a meeting of all the resistance groups that are forming in Humboldt County to try to create a common way of coordinating. And so we went around and introduced ourselves. I said, well, I'm on the Human Rights Commission. Afterwards, a young man came up and said, oh man, someone's doing such a great job and I can't wait to get on it. And that's what I'm doing this year. And I've already started talking to them and it's the coolest thing. And it hasn't been on and on. I was like,
That's right.
nice.
I wish Rowan was going to be around another year, but
Yeah, well, he's good. Oh, yeah, great.
that's great. Right. We're kind of diverging off of topic
Anyway.
here, but
They're lovely. It's a lovely group. They've made some good progress. We have learned some lessons. May becomes very busy for those graduating, so I think we need to shift our timeline a little bit, because as soon as got college acceptances, I felt like they were
yeah, they were
scattered a
in
little bit.
Berkeley and Davis. And
Yeah, of
elsewhere.
course they all got to college, so
We call it senioritis.
yeah, they all kind of scattered a little bit. So I think we need to shift our year a little bit so that
I'm going to
important stuff happens before they get college acceptance.
I'm going to ask a question that's kind of out of sequence here completely, but June 14th, there are some protests planned. I have mixed information about where,
Connecticut Square.
not the courthouse.
Not the courthouse, Connecticut.
See, I think a lot of people are going to think it's the courthouse.
Yeah. So I will be at the courthouse.
First street.
People large from Connecticut.
Second.
Square.
Oh,
But I don't know when.
yeah, they need to get some more information out so that everybody,
Well, they may be marching to the courthouse.
that's what Chip is saying.
you know.
But that's where they had the women's march back
It was big,
last time we had
2017.
Trump in office, so,
Yeah,
and they had, I don't know, several thousand people. That was great.
8,000.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, they had the biggest crowd I'd ever seen here.
Biggest
You said
crowd
the
ever.
14th,
Eureka.
June 14th,
June
Vatican
14th?
Square.
June 14th, yeah,
Does it say a time?
10 to 3, I think.
10
Oh, 10 to 3. I didn't know that. Okay.
10 to 3.
10
Okay.
But maybe, I don't know whether we should have a table over there. Have tomatoes thrown at us.
Not for that group, I don't think, but.
And the protest,
No,
the protest is for,
It's No King's Day or.
Yeah.
Whichever way you want to interpret it, but it's a counter protest to somebody's birthday.
Hardly anybody mentions that it's Flag Day.
It is
Yeah.
Flag Day
It
too,
is, it's Flag Day.
and it's perfectly fine to have those flags out, all of them. Next committee report is cultural awareness, Indigenous people.
And, Bird said she wasn't able to meet for some reason, so we haven't scheduled them.
Okay. All right, so we'll look for that perhaps next.
that's,
Technology communications.
let's see, yeah,
In America, we don't do kings.
don't do games.
We have some
Anything new to, you've already made mention of the Facebook page,
Yeah, I don't think there's,
nothing special
just
to
keep,
report.
I just keep updating, if anybody gives me anything, all at it.
Great, thank you. And we've discussed free speech as,
We have, and I think we're fine. One question is that the deadline, or is that this ends at the end of the month? And do we want to extend it further?
and is the focus going to be the same?
All, I mean, that's what we'll have, that's kind of some of the key issues that we want to cover when we meet by Zoom.
Well, shall we extend this committee to the end of the year, 12/31?
Well, at least a little longer than 6:30.
Let's go to that, 12/31. And there'll be a discussion of the purpose.
Yes.
Should we do that with technology, I guess, as well?
Yeah,
Yes, you're right.
I didn't notice.
I didn't either. Okay.
Might as well. We have the boundary.
And the next committee up is homelessness and behavioral health. We do have an agenda item coming up. I don't know if you have anything other than that.
No, the only thing, well, I do, I mean, I guess it's part of the agenda item, but remember, I gave you guys some pieces of legislation, Assembly Bill 750, Assembly Bill 1165. And I was hoping that we would support that and send that information to the board of supervisors that we support.
What's the voting timeline?
The voting time, well, I'm assuming one of them, Assembly Bill 750. This is the homeless shelters last committee 13-0. The last information I have on it. The other one, the Gibson bill, which is on health and safety with homeless, is referred to committee, so it's moving slowly. I mean, that one's not moving very, very quickly, but I thought again, we should, if everybody is inclined, we should then voice our support and forward it to the board of supervisors so that maybe they'll decide to support it publicly. And that way, again, prompt our, legislators, because that, going back to our other meeting when we had Tracy here, that was one of the comments that she made, is that we should be pushing some of this legislation or anything else.
Can you share that again?
Mhm.
Can you share that?
These pieces?
Yeah,
I can send
I'll formulate a letter in her letterhead.
But those two over there, the other one, which is not really homeless, so, but as long as on the same kind of topic of doing the board of supervisors, if you remember, I was talking about, I was pushing for a change in the Brown Act just a single change that would put an exception for teleconferencing for unpaid county commissioners where travel distance was in excess of 50 miles or 1 hour. And I could send that out again too, but I would like to, maybe we could, do everybody say, yeah, yay, then let's also send that to the board of supervisors, because again, I can write letters, I contact, Senator McGuire's office, I talk to Assemblyman Rogers, but it's just me, and they'll largely ignore us. But if the Human Rights Commission comes in support of it, and the board of supervisors, rubber stamps it, because there's no skin on them for any of this stuff, I mean, well, maybe the shelters a little bit, because I know that it's going to cost some money down the line, supposedly, but
Well, do I entertain a motion to,
I would move that we support these three bills.
bills, two of them bills, the other one is not a bill, it's just that there's a piece of government legislation regarding meetings, and it's been hamstringing us as far as.
Okay, that's right. Support the two bills and the that are advocating for the change in the Brown Act.
Yeah,
is there a second?
I'll second it.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded that we support or move forward with letters to the Board of Supervisors regarding state legislation on homeless issues, and a separate letter on the Brown Act recommending an exemption for instance. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jeff.
Great to see you for the work you're doing.
Thank you. Come back anytime.
Hey, don't you want to join? Then don't you want to join us?
He's been here before.
I know.
I didn't know.
Have a good evening. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Unanimous. Okay.
And then one other comment, it's related to the homeless issue, but when I was doing some research on the county side, principally because I was trying to get the annual report from the police, from the sheriff's department, which so far I'm getting no information. The last report they put out was in 2022. They didn't put out one for 2023 or 2024. Well, supposedly they're putting out one for 2024. They told me that 3 months ago, and I saved emails. So I replied again, I replied the first time when they told me that, and I said, thank you. And then I just replied again and say, I can't find anything on it. And I'm still waiting for a reply now. So now I'm getting ghosted, apparently. We'll see. I'm going to harass them again because I wanted to see it. But while I was doing that researching, I was looking, they had posted on their housing that has been built in Humboldt County over the last year, 2024. And of course, I printed it out. After I printed it out, I realized it's like 3-point type. I mean, I went there with a magnifying glass. I still could hardly read any of it over there. But anyway, long story short is 190 units were built of some kind of housing in the county last year. Wow. So
It's not much.
not much, and one of them is my next door neighbor. And he was saying he was helping the homeless situation. And then when he told me he was asking $2,500 a month rent, I said, yeah, right. Well,
Wow.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay.
Guess that's not unusual. I mean, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath or whatever thing, but that's why I said it's not an ADU.
Well, this does bring us to our next agenda item, which is unfinished business. I'm going to share a document. Actually, I hope I've got the right version here. This one's dated 3/25. This is regarding a letter to the Board of Supervisors. I hope you can either have looked at it or can see it on the screen.
Did you get the latest revision?
No, this is all right then.
That's okay. It's okay.
Let me try the other one though. I have
There's
both.
number 4. You should see one that says number 4. There's only one line changed on it.
All right, well, we want to make sure we've got the right one, so,
Okay.
if that wasn't it.
I mean, through your work, it's just, that's probably not it. You should probably just go back to the one you just had, because that's probably the best one, right? Which the only petition I had addressed in one line at the very, very end.
Did you email it out to everyone, Doug?
What's that?
Did you email it out to everyone?
Yep.
Yeah, I did. Just not, I sent both because I wasn't sure which one.
I don't think it's either one of them, because I don't,
Really?
unless it says revision 4 on it. That's why I would put numbers on it. I don't.
Well, I don't know how I did that. Oops, that's not it at all. I'm sorry.
Well, you can show number 3. I mean, that's probably the closest one you're gonna get. I don't know if I have number 4 on my phone.
I've lost the documents. I'm sorry. Do you have it?
No, if you just show the number 3, then.
I can't bring it up now
Oh, okay.
for whatever reason.
I've got the copies here, but
Oh, wait a minute, I can do it another way.
Because 3 is fine. I mean, the only difference is I added one little nasty remark at the end.
Well, we need your nasty remarks.
and fanning the flames,
I want to see that.
and fanning the flames of rising authoritarianism. That's all. Tidbit.
Well, I just made it a little more pointed at the end, but like I said, I don't think, because Rick gave me suggestions and I inputted those. We talked about it last time. And then Tracy mentioned some specifics of adding, some outright suggestions. So I talked about, the Arvin camp during the Great Depression. I talked about, what they were doing in Finland and just some of that. But then the last part of it was that I just added on there was just in relation that, I just don't want a situation to, just like I was talking about earlier with the other issue with sanctuary stuff. I just don't want things to devolve. And it seems like that's what we're seeing, grants pass and we're gonna just
Oh, I got it.
drop our people off and
Got it?
you find number 4.
I did find the room.
So you'll see that one pass. I lost it for me.
Let me go up there and I can share it on the side.
Because I don't remember how I phrased it. It's not that bad.
It's not snarky.
Not too snarky. I just wanted to make sure that, that you saw it. So obviously, if you're gonna approve it, you gotta prove it is. If you don't want it, you cut it out. It's fine. That's what I always tell everybody, add additions, subtractions,
That's no,
whatever, just let me know.
You might have to let me in.
By the way,
I'm not there yet. It's working on it. I should be in the waiting room then.
Yep.
Yep, just a second. I'm sending a request to let me share what I do.
okay.
Can't read it, but
I like it bigger. Needed to get it up.
Oh, I can read that.
see, it does say number 4.
Oh, I see what you were referring to. Okay.
Every time somebody gives me a suggestion, we make a change. Change it, put another revision on it. And I think it says, and it says here, see, I wrote here, we must have the courage to find solutions that work. That's where revision 3 ended. And I added a comma, if not, we fan the flames of rising authoritarianism. That's where that's where
That's your statement.
that's where I got it. Sort of what I used to say in the family, where you stick the knife in and twist it.
I'm gonna propose, I liked it the earlier way without that last.
That's fine.
Definition. But anyway, and again, just a single opinion, but I'm just gonna kind of give my opinion out, and others can
Yeah, that's fine.
look at how they wish.
Well, so is yours a motion to do a previous version? Or this version without the final line?
Okay, I will move that, because I like the letter, and I move that we send this letter to the Board of Supervisors minus the last phrase.
Did you
There's
change
a
it?
diplomat in the crowd.
I can move it to the front, could be the opening sentence.
All right, is there a second?
I'll say,
Okay, it's moved and seconded that we adopt this version of the letter to the Board of Supervisors minus the final phrase.
also,
What?
well, you need a second.
No, you did it a second.
You did it.
Yeah, I got it. Or we did. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It's unanimous. Okay. All right, good work.
So much, I like that.
And that includes
Sort of
unfinished business. Under new
It's
business,
such a stick in the mud,
under new business, we have election of officers for the next fiscal year. And each of you should have a list in front of you. There do appear to be, at the moment, only one candidate for each office. Yes, sir.
I'd like to move that we accept the candidates for each position without, as is.
Okay, second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept basically the slate of officers that are on your sheets. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please raise your hand.
See what I can. See my warning of authoritarian.
Yeah. Oh, it's coming true. All right.
And I do have one future item,
Okay, good.
so I can run my problem.
You're doing really, really well, by the way.
Well, that's why I didn't want to be listed as chair. I would, teach shortly thereafter, and I doubt it. Keep pushing for that. Wait, as most of you probably have heard, there's an investigation going on over at Cal Poly on anti-Semitism. I have my own opinion on what the value of all that, but I thought it would be a good idea if the Human Rights Commission investigates it too.
How would we go about doing that?
I don't know exactly. I just thought it would be, like I said, I'll freely admit I have ulterior motives in there because I think the whole thing is, I'll say it bluntly, it's a fraud. But I thought it would be kind of worthwhile on our part. I would bow out, and maybe some other members of our staff here might not want to get actively involved because of a conflict over there, but I think it might be something that we could actually, look into. Doesn't have to be obviously deep, but read what the complaint is, and I guess we could interview the president, our part-time president, whoever else over there to get their opinions. And
Well, you are suggesting this as an agenda item
Yeah.
for the next meeting. Would you be able to to support the agenda item for discussion, would you be able to supply some materials that would be relevant without your own personal opinion now?
Yeah, I check off.
Okay.
Go over it.
Yeah, I'd like to know how, more specifically, how we could approach it, because I think it's an intriguing idea. But I'm thinking that so far, what I've seen is kind of the hearsay or, kind of what you read in the paper. But anyway, I'd be interested in how one might approach that.
Okay. Okay, any other agenda items for next meeting? We've got a lot of work to do, folks.
But that's not too bad.
No, I like it. I like it. I do. All right, are there any other items that need to come before the commission? If not, we shall call this meeting was adjourned.